Your next candidate is running for New Jersey's 6th district. His name is Russ Cirincione, and he joins me right now. Russ, thank you so much for taking the time.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Francesca. How are you?
I'm good. So tell me, you're currently an attorney, is that correct?
Yeah, right. I'm an attorney. I work for New York State government as a public servant.
All right, and why now run to be another public servant, but this time as a congressman? What inspired you to run against Democratic incumbent Frank Pallone?
There's so many reasons, but primarily I'm a father, and my 2.5-year-old son is counting on me to fight for his future, right? The climate crisis is threatening our Jersey Shore, and his future completely is dependent on how we deal with the climate crisis today.
Yeah.
And in a shoreline district, by 2035, my home is projected to be underwater 2 times a month. And our shore has been facing the climate crisis firsthand already. We have seen a 2-degree increase in temperature. Today was 50 degrees. We've seen 1.5 feet in sea level rise. And there are townships in our district now that actually flood every time it rains. So we deserve a climate champion in Congress that will fight for a Green New Deal. And that's what I plan on bringing to Congress.
Right, this is the Jersey Shore, but it is no joke. Like this is reality TV we don't wanna see, we've seen it, right? I know that you're a supporter of the Green New Deal, right? And why are you a supporter, and how do you speak with your voters in your district about the Green New Deal?
So the Green New Deal is the most aggressive economic stimulus package that America will ever see. We're going to make the investments in our economy that we need. We're going to create 20 million jobs across the country. And when we speak to voters, honestly, many people are familiar with the term itself, just the Green New Deal. It actually polls at 84% in this district. With Democratic voters, we support it here because we know we've been facing the climate crisis firsthand, and it's fresh on everybody's minds.
Do you feel like folks in New Jersey are also scared and concerned for the same kind of sea level rise that you're talking about? Is that resonating with people? And how is the current congressman dealing with that very real climate threat, or not?
It's definitely a concern, and from just an energy standpoint, it completely makes sense, because the projections, if we switch to renewable energy by 2030, we can cut our electric bills in half. And we're talking about community-owned energy infrastructure, which will be for the common good to serve the people here. And the current representative, Frank Pallone, he actually just released their climate framework. They're calling it the Clean Future Act. It does nothing to regulate emissions. It puts us on a path of 30 years investments in fossil fuel pipelines, and it's a complete and utter failure of climate action from this representative.
Wow, yeah, that is scary. The other issue I know that you're really passionate about is housing, and actually you've done a lot of work around affordable housing in New Jersey. If you are elected to Congress, what do you see as the future of housing rights in your state?
We really need to invest in housing on a national level, and we have to build more housing here in New Jersey. We also have to even enforce the rules that we have on the books now to make sure that more people have affordable homes. So we're actually ranked the 4th highest state in the nation in terms of rent. A 2-bedroom apartment averages at about $1,500 a month.
Wow.
And to afford an apartment like that, you have to make $23 an hour. In our district, about 90,000 people work on the minimum wage, and housing is becoming unaffordable very quickly. So we have to build more housing. We have to enforce the rules on the books, and we also need to make sure that we guarantee housing as a right in this country, because nobody should be sleeping on the streets.
And what are some of those rules? Because I think oftentimes people are confused about, they either think it has to be building more housing or rent control, and there are measures in place right now, but that maybe aren't actually being enacted. So what are some of those rules that you're talking about?
So I think we need to have a rent stabilization nationally, because our rents should not be able to jump 10, 15, 20% in a single year. That is just really it creates a crisis.
Mm-hmm.
So if we stabilize the rents and keep them affordable for everyone, it will really protect tenants and make sure we have an affordable housing stock. So we also need to look at the rules of HUD and make sure that we have to expand the Section 8 program and increase the funding. And we also have to make sure that tenants are the direct beneficiaries of all of our programs.
Yeah, right. Currently in the hands of Ben Carson, those very, very strange hands. What besides let's say climate change and housing rights, what are some of the issues that your constituents are telling you that is the most concerning to them right now?
So we're concerned about the high costs of health insurance in our state. We pay the 5th highest in the nation. There's some projections where we're going to be forced with a 16 to 20% increase in our health insurance next year. And there's only 3 health insurance providers in New Jersey. About 60% of people have employer-sponsored healthcare programs. But we're all concerned about how our health insurance right now does not put the control of our healthcare decisions in our hands,
mm-hmm.
right? We pay high premiums and we have high deductibles. The average deductible is about $2,500. Our premiums cost about $4,500 for the whole year. And coming out of pocket for a medical emergency, I've heard from many people that, someone I spoke to last week, he had appendicitis, his appendix burst, and he has good insurance through his company. When he had an emergency operation, he still was left with a $3,000 hospital bill afterwards. And to pay that, he has to go he's gone into medical debt. So we're very concerned with the high cost of health insurance here and how people actually are very excited about Medicare for All, because it puts the control of our healthcare decisions back into our hands, and it'll provide health coverage for the lowest cost.
Right. Yeah, so you are a proponent of Medicare for All then?
Oh, absolutely, yes. We need Medicare for All. We're way overdue for a single-payer healthcare system. 32 out of the 33 major nations on the planet have already done it, and in New Jersey, we're getting nickeled and dimed at every turn for our health insurance. But we really should switch to a single-payer, very efficient system like Medicare for All. And doing so will save the average person in our district about $3,000 per year.
Wow. Yeah, and that's a big difference, and also not having to go bankrupt for an appendicitis, which is very, very, very common. What about your incumbent, your opponent, Frank Pallone? Do you think he's paying attention to your campaign? Is he feeling the heat?
I'm not sure he's feeling the heat yet, but actually on Saturday, myself and about 15 activists went to one of his events. Mm-hmm. He actually took a question from me. I've introduced myself to him several times. He knows who I am, but I was honestly very surprised by him being open to have a question from me. And I specifically asked if he would back Medicare for All, HR 1384, and he told me no, he would not. Even after laying out all the economic benefits for our state, in our state budget, we'll save $2.5 billion. Our local governments and county governments will save in the hundreds of millions. And in our state of New Jersey, 700,000 people have no health insurance. They can't afford it. In our district, New Jersey's 6th, 42,000 people have no health insurance.
Wow.
Even all of those reasons for him does not affect his judgment. He's the chair of the Energy and Commerce Committee. He could call it for a House vote tomorrow.
Wow.
But really, those are more than enough reasons for me to 100% advocate for Medicare for All. On day one of being sworn in, I will immediately co-sponsor or sponsor that bill, HR 1384, Medicare for All.
Wow, that's great. I mean, your race is sort of reminding me of AOC's against Joe Crowley, right? Frank Pallone's been in office for how long now? Like a couple decades?
32 years.
Okay, so yeah, about as long as my life. Yeah, so 32 years. I mean, and what's then the reaction to someone like you, an upstart progressive Democratic candidate, young father? Like, are people like, hey, stay in your lane. Let's focus on the Republicans, or are you feeling like there is some support for something new?
There's absolutely support for new representation here. We're having really every single day we're growing our volunteer base. 2 to 3 people at least are coming onto our team and joining as volunteers, ready to knock doors, ready to make phone calls. When we go out and knock doors, most people are open to a change in representation. And after 32 years of the same representation, it's about time that we try something new. We try someone who is going to demand the change that we need.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, Russ Cirincione, thank you so much for joining us. We can go to your website, right, to find out more about you, Cirincione2020.com, running for New Jersey's 6th District. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
On the go? Don't worry, we got you covered. You can still listen to TYT at our new podcast network. Find us on Apple Podcasts, the Google Play Store, or at tyt.com/podcast.